Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Prague Magic of what if starter Pokemon had new types, this time with the Kalos starters, Gen 6. Let's hop in and begin.
What if in an alternate universe, grass, fire, and water wasn't the type trio used for the starter Pokemon? We have explored this concept with the first 5 generations of Pokemon. So let's say bonjour to the starter Pokemon of the Kalos region and give them some new
bonjour.
types. Hey everyone, Brandon here.
What up, Brandon?
So Kalos is a bit of a unique region. It was the first mainline region to not be in Japan or America, the first region of the 3D era, and the starters were a bit more blatant with their design inspirations and group theme. Like in previous generations, you could kind of get the idea of what was going on, but when you look at these three, you can immediately see, oh, those are definitely RPG classes.
Oh,
As such, I'm
100%.
going to do something a bit different this time around and talk about the group theme for these starters at the top of the video and explain as I go.
Ooh,
I decided to keep the
alright.
RPG class theme, but expand on it a bit more. Rather than just a general RPG, I switched it to a tabletop RPG, specifically Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
I'm
very
currently in 2
classic.
campaigns with another I'm starting next month, and I am so normal about it. I worked with Trevenart for all the artwork in this video, so make sure to check out their link in the description. Also, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below to see more videos just like this. Anyway, let's start off with Chespin, who when given the steel type becomes Prespin, the spiky head Pokemon, a pure steel type. Rather than the sprout-like spines of Chespin, Prespin has these longer spines, or more accurately, spikes. These spikes, as well as Prespin's name, refer to acupuncture or acupressure, which is a move it would most certainly learn. Prespin will use its
100%.
quills to help other Pokemon. It will press its head against different pressure points to help alleviate stress or pain. Its sturdy, armored hide is developed from its strict diet of Babiri berries. So I realized I haven't been doing something obvious for this series, which is that these Pokemon would need abilities to replace the standard starter abilities of Overgrow, Blaze, and Torrent.
Oh,
So
yeah,
let's give
that's
Prespin
right.
a Steel-type equivalent, which I have named Refine, which boosts the power of Steel-type moves by 50% when the Pokemon's HP is equal or less than 1/3 of its maximum. For its hidden ability, I would probably have it keep Bulletproof because it still fits in my opinion, Bulletproof Steel and all that, and your mobile gaming experience can be as solid as Bulletproof Steel thanks to today's sponsor, Red Magic. Red Magic has just released their newest phone, the Red Magic 10 Pro, a major performance boost over previous generations and an upgraded gaming experience you can fit in the palm of your hand. You can play games like Pokemon Unite, Fortnite, Minecraft, and even Honkai Star Rail without having to worry about the fact you're gaming from your phone. There are also minigame wallpapers, allowing you to continue to game even while your phone is on standby. The Red Magic 10 Pro was specifically created for mobile gaming, boasting a 1.5K resolution, 6.8-inch full HD AMO LED display with a 95.3% screen-to-body ratio for a better and more immersive gaming experience. And Red Magic's fastest chipset yet, with the latest version of the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, paired with up to 24GB of LPDDR5X Ultra RAM and 1TB of storage, allowing for smooth data processing and lightning-fast performance. And the Red Core 3, Red Magic's dedicated gaming chip that maximizes gaming potential for smoother visuals and intelligent power management. Combined with the fact that the 10 Pro is the first phone equipped with liquid metal cooling, this phone optimizes battery life and maintains cool temperatures during heated gaming moments. On top of all of that, you can discover more with Mora, Red Magic's virtual assistant that takes the form of a cute anime girl. Make sure to check out the Red Magic 10 Pro using my link in the description, and a huge thank you to Red Magic for sponsoring this video. Now let's get—
You know, if you actually also look at the Red Magic symbol, it kind of reminds you of like the Red Hood mask.
back to it.
From Batman.
At level 16, Prespin evolves into Quillash, the spiky armor Pokemon. The spikes from Prespin have become smaller and more frequent on Quillash, which both act as an offensive and a defensive measure. It can roll itself up into a ball and roll at opponents, repeatedly striking them with its sharp and hard quills, which would essentially just be
So it can do a cannon bolt now.
Quillash using Gyro Ball over and over. It could also be a new move, which we could call Pinwheel, which essentially would be a Steel-type version of Rollout, repeatedly attacking the target over 5 turns and growing more powerful with each turn. I know Quilladin gets a lot of hate, which I personally don't understand, but I hope this design helps some of those
I think they just hate him because he's a chunky boy.
who had issue with Quilladin like it a bit more. And I would like you a bit more if you hit that join button to become a member. Membership gets you perks like seeing videos early, a shout out at the end of my videos, and even directly paying for one Fakemon design a month that you are credited for. So support the channel with your membership so I can continue to make fun videos just like this. At level 36, Quillash evolves into Pressnot, the barbarian Pokemon. Yep, I'm doing it again. I made a single typed final stage in one of these videos. Honestly, as much as I love making unique type combos for the starters in this series, at the end of the day, it's still Pokemon, and there have been 2
Yeah.
whole generations where all the starters have been single typed, and 3 generations where at least one starter has been. Plus, Steel is honestly a great type by itself. It has the most resistances of any type and has great offensive capabilities. So this line would also have.
I mean, the only thing I could even see this thing being would just be Steel fighting, and isn't that already kind of taken in by Pelzalco?
Great physical defense and attack. Back to Presnot though. As its category states, this Pokemon is based on the Barbarian class from D&D, which are all about getting in
Classic.
and doing damage. Alright, prepare yourself for a segment I like to call Brandon info dumps about their hyperfixation. Ready?
Go for it.
Okay. Barbarian's main
Time
class
out.
feature is Rage, which basically lets you hit things harder and gives you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which fits great given the myriad of type resistances Presnot has. Though ironically, it is weak to fighting and ground, which would count as bludgeoning damage in D&D. I wanted to shift Chestnut from the defensive Paladin class, which is basically a tank or frontline class, to an offensive tank class, which Barbarian can be. As you can
Okay.
see with its pose, like Chestnut, it can morph its arms, but instead of making a shield, it can make axes, which are the typical weapons Barbarians use. Its blonde fur and blue eyes refer to a god of some
Nice.
Barbarian tribes in D&D lore called Uthgar, who is very
Oh.
Norse-inspired as Barbarians themselves are based on the kind of Vikings called Berserkers.
Ah,
Okay, still
yes,
with me?
that's true.
Good, because I still have more. I actually based each member of this line off different subclasses of the Barbarian you can be. For the uninformed, subclasses are a choice you usually make at level 3 that gives you access to different abilities, spells, and features depending on which you choose. Kind of like
Huh,
giving Eevee a
alright.
different evolution stone. It changes what you can do with that character from then on. Anyway, the Barbarian subclass I based Prespin on is the Path of the Beast, given, well, it's a beast. But I did change something about this line
Okay.
entirely based on this subclass. Rather than being based on hedgehogs, armadillos, and glyptodonts, which are all herbivores or prey animals, I changed the inspiration to be based on ancient predator animals, such as the Andrewsarchus and the Repenomamus, which you can see with this line's
not
fangs.
bad.
The subclass I based Quillash on is the Path of the Battle Rager, whose class features center around spiked armor, which you can use as a weapon by ramming into opponents or grappling them. Then finally, the
Okay, I
subclass I
like
based
that.
Preston on is the Path of the Berserker, which is your basic barbarian, focusing on the rage mechanic. For this, I would give it a new move called Relentless Rage, named after the Barbarian class feature, which would act almost like Endure mixed with Belly Drum, where if used in
I was thinking it was gonna be like a Steel version of Outrage.
the user was going to faint from an attack, the
Dragon
Pokemon
Rage?
will
One of
survive
them.
on 1 HP, and its attack will increase drastically. Speaking of drastic, Presnot is probably one of the most drastic design changes I have made to a Pokemon in this video, if not this entire series. Once again, Chestnut also receives a lot of hate, and though I love the original, I can't help but find this design way more interesting. So I hope Chestnut haters do too. Yet another line that gets a lot of hate is our next starter, Fennekin. More so for the final
Ooh.
stage though. Anyway, I gave it the Fairy type,
What did
which
I
gives
do?
us Fennecoy, the Shy Fox
Okay,
Pokemon,
that's
a
the
pure
ooh.
Fairy type. This Pokemon's girly pop levels are absolutely off the charts. Adding pinks and purples to this Pokemon felt like the most natural way to go for its type, given
100%.
Fennekin only really has its ear fluffs and coloration to designate its typing. Its category refers to the fact that foxes tend to be more shy and quiet animals, hiding from both
Aww.
humans and other animals, as well as references that fairies typically will also rarely show themselves to humans. Fennecoy usually travel alone. They will leave sticks behind, which both work as a trap and as a way for it to know another Pokemon is
Oh.
nearby. For a fairy-type version of Blaze, I decided to call it
Okay.
Bespell, and its hidden ability would be changed to Soundproof, which will make sense later. At level 16, Fennecoy evolves into Blakeson, the Blade Fox Pokemon. Instead of using its stick to wield fire like Braixen or Delphox do, or trap Pokemon
Is it
like
blind?
Fennecoy, Blakeson uses it as a blade to defend itself in fanciful
Ooh,
style,
no.
keeping their opponents at a distance with its variety of versatile flourishes, which would actually be a new
Oh, so this one is going to be based on the Night class, specifically the Rapier user. And if you don't know what a Rapier is, this is a Rapier. It's a very thin sword designed specifically for stabbing or striking.
move called Flourish. It would act like Detect or Protect, where if a Pokemon attacks, it would miss, and would then boost Blakeson's attack or special attack stat matching what kind of move was used by the opponent. As such, I would have this line
useful.
be a mixed attacker. Its dex entry, new move, and appearance are inspired by the sport of fencing, and medieval duels using swords in general with its feather-like ear fluff.
Oh.
At level 36, Blakeson evolves into Simfox, the Bard Pokemon. We
Oh.
have yet another stick alteration.
Wait, so it goes from using sticks to trap and hide from a Pokemon to using a stick to keep Pokemon away to now using a stick to play music? That is that is 5 times of juggling.
On our hands, folks. Move over, Pokeflute. There's a new Woodwind in town. Simfox can create enchanting melodies from its flute-like stick, charming Pokemon and people alike. This stick is carved from highly durable wood, so it can also use it as a blade still if necessary. The use of the flute, typing, and its Volpine appearance act as a reference to a few fairy tale characters, 2 of which have darker
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to completely explain this one, Brandon, because I am lost.
endings that I will omit. First is the character of the fox from Pinocchio, called Honest John in the Disney adaptation, who would use his charm and wit to swindle townsfolk. Second is the Pied Piper, who led an infestation of rats out of the town of Hamlin with his magic pipe, which I could also see being a tale in the Pokemon world, with Simfox leading a bunch of rodent Pokemon out of Kalos. The third is Robin Goodfellow, or Puck as he is more commonly known, a mischievous fairy that was adapted into Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. These aspects come together to make a great setup for this Pokemon's category, the Bard Pokemon. Yet again, time for another round of info dumping. So one of the main stats used for Bard is Charisma. They use their words and music to persuade, allure, and trick folks into giving them what they want, while also having access to a decent list of spells, which makes a great transition from Delphox, who is more of a direct spellcaster like a sorcerer, wizard, or warlock. And yes, those are 3 different classes with an important distinction between them that I don't have time to go into right now. Simfoxes and Blade...
Well, no, even, hold on, I can explain it real quick. Like, each one of those 3 wizard types that he just said have different ways of getting the magic. One is Bond, one is Lund, one is Both.
3 different classes with an important distinction between them that I don't have time to go into right now. Simfoxes and Blakeson's legs are meant to look more like the puffy legwear of the Reformation era and medieval times, also sporting a cape or tail coat, which the entire line has kind of led up to, while also acting as a reference to the same multi-tailed foxes or kitsune from Japanese folklore that Ninetales and Delphox are based on. Its ear fluff is now a full-on set of fairy wings, which really contribute to its pure fairy typing. This is the only starter where I debated on giving it a second type, due to the darker tone of the fairy tales it is based on, the mischievous look it has, and the coloration getting darker as it evolved. Also, this design is a little self-indulgent reference to Rena Rouge from Miraculous. Anyway, just like our previous starter line, this line also has different subclasses that they are based on. Fennecoy is based on the College of Whispers Bard. While the abilities of the subclass aren't directly mirrored with this Pokemon, the whole Whispers part is its main focus, which as I said represents the fact that foxes are usually shy and quiet, to the point where, in true Bard fashion, there was even a song about it. But I will spare your ears from the curses of the past.
Oh good god.
Blason with its new blade-like stick is based on the College of Swords Bard.
You'll never... Oh, wait, and look, that bard is using a rapier! Ha!
But could also include the College of Valor Bard, as they are both more combat-focused. Simfox is based on the College of Eloquence Bard, which is the bardiest bard to ever bard. Incredibly charming and musically talented. I would actually give this Pokemon the same move I gave to the Colossian Skeledirge we made for the Legends EA prediction video earlier this year. Check that video out if you missed it. But the move is called Charming Melody, which acts as a fairy-type version of Torch Song. Flourish in combo with Charming Melody would make for a real nightmare of a setup Pokemon, which is why its defense stats would be really, really bad, so that if you do get a hit off, this thing would faint faster than you can say Beholder. Beholder? I hardly know her. Moving on, we have the Froakie line, which you can probably guess I gave the Fighting type. With that said, here is Cloaky, the Trouble Frog Pokemon, a pure fighting type. Cloaky is a bit of a rabble-rouser, a troublemaker if you will.
It's gonna become a monk.
Throw the beads on its neck to make distractions so it can land surprise attacks on its opponents. Then it will sneak off before the opponent notices where it was hit from. From a design standpoint, Cloaky almost feels like an inverse of Froakie, being red and black rather than blue and white, which refers to the aptly named Tomato Frog. The equivalent to Torrent for this Pokemon would be called Underdog. For its hidden ability, I would either keep Protean or make a new similar one called something like Stylist, which is when a fighter uses skill and technique rather than brute strength. I did consider giving it a hidden ability ending in Proof, considering the other 2 starters did, but Heat Proof doesn't really fit. At level 16, Cloaky evolves into Frogolist, the Rumble Frog Pokemon. And this Pokemon certainly does rumble. It will start battles with Pokemon and stumble around while fighting, like it is confused or in some kind of stupor. This fighting style is a bit unorthodox, but allows it to be a slippery sidestepper, dodging oncoming attacks and
you know what? It probably is gonna be a rogue.
Countering easily. But no, it would not learn Counter. Instead, it would learn a new move called Slip, where it dodges the oncoming attack if it's physical, then counters with an attack of equal power. And finally, its evasiveness would increase. This both refers to how slippery frogs are and a term used in boxing when you move your head slightly to the side so a punch slips past you. As far as design, Frogadier already referenced a horned frog, but I wanted to make the horns a bit more forward and obvious. Also, its mustache, beard, and coloration are meant to refer to Gordon's warty frog. So yeah, those black bumps are warts, which is kind of gross, but no more gross than a tongue scarf. Speaking of, let's move on to the final stage. With a ton of different combat classes to pick from for this Pokemon, I thought, what is the most fighting type class that also feels in line with a ninja? Monk.
A monk? Yeah!
It's a monk.
I called it.
So Frogolist at level 36 evolves into Granastic, the monk
Well, I was right about this one at least.
Pokemon. Now that's an amped amphibian. Dude's been hitting the gym for real. On the topic
Who does this guy think he is? Bullfrag?
of hitting, the hardened, knuckle-like warts on its hand allow Granastic to deliver some truly devastating punches. It is a skilled martial artist, and the more beads it has on its necklace, the stronger that Granastic is. These beads
Ooh.
refer to prayer bead necklaces, specifically the overdramatic huge ones monks in RPGs and anime are depicted wearing. This
True.
line also references a style of kung fu called Toad Style, which has some extremely acrobatic techniques
Wow.
to emulate the movements of a frog. There are also yokai called Ogama that this could refer to, which are
Oh.
massive frogs that stand on their hind legs and sometimes wield spears, which monks in D&D can also do. Granastic's
Awesome.
horns are actually shaped like said spears. Okay, final round of info dumping.
Yeah, please.
This one is going to be a bit shorter as it's a little easier to understand. The monk's whole deal is dexterity and using unarmed strikes, though some subclasses do focus more on weapons as I just said. So obviously a frog with its leaping ability is a great segue into a monk, especially when the Pokemon was originally based on a ninja, an already dexterous style of combat. The most commonly used ability for the monk class is Flurry of Blows, which we could definitely reference with Arm Thrust or Triple Kick, that would basically replace Water Shuriken. Though we wouldn't get the benefit
Johnny
of
Him on
priority,
top.
so we could just make a fighting type version of that move. I also considered giving this Pokemon Technician as a second or hidden ability to help instead, but ultimately decided that Stylist would be more versatile. The subclass's trend continues with Cloaky being based on the way of Shadow Monk, a darker, less faithful version of a monk, cloaked in shadow. Actually, when you multi-class
I
with a
get it.
rogue with the assassin subclass, you get yourself a Dungeons & Dragons version of a ninja, so it refers to its original design inspiration. Frogolist is based on the way of the drunken master monk, which despite the name, you don't actually have to drink to be one. Its main class features are Drunken Technique and Tipsy Sway, which have to do with hit and run tactics and redirecting attacks. You can actually see it as little swirls on its eyelids to refer to the drunken nature of the subclass
Oh,
and
yeah.
Frogolist's movements. Finally, Granastic is based on the way of the Open Hand Monk, which as you can guess is the most monkey monk. With that said, it actually transitions us well into the theme of all three of these starters. Each final stage is the most emblematic of their class, with them drifting further from that as you go down to the base stage. Pressman is more calm, even offering relaxation to other Pokemon rather than the raging barbarian Pressnot. Fennecoy is quieter and more reserved than the exuberant and whimsical bard
Okay.
Symphox, and Cloaky is shadowy, mysterious, and unattached, as opposed to the devout and direct monk Granastic. Each line
This is
also
actually pretty
references the
good.
upgrades we got from Kalos being our first entry in the 3D era. The Pressman line refers to the upgrade in graphics as its spikes become more frequent and defined as it evolves, like pixels transitioning to voxels. Fennecoy references the upgrade in
voxels.
music as it
Okay.
refines its musical talents across its evolutions, much like how we went from essentially MIDI to full orchestrations. And the Cloaky line represents the quality of life upgrades we got in the 3D era, such as getting
True.
EXP from catching Pokemon and super training. Much like Cloaky comes out of the shadows and becomes a better and stronger fighter as it evolves. And those are the Kalos starters with different types. Thanks so much to our incredible members whose names you can see on screen for supporting the channel with their hard-earned money, which you
Well, I have to say, this one was actually a little interesting. I mean, it was nice that it stuck to the D&D theme from the originals, but I was honestly a little lost with the classes at first. But either way, I actually enjoyed this. So and I hope all of you out there did. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.